So, you know, when President Trump called me to come back to this administration, I was actually out to dinner with my wife, and my phone rings. I'm sitting at the table, and it says POTUS. My wife says, "Oh, shit." And we had a conversation. President Trump said he wanted me to take care of three things: secure the border, run a mass deportation operation, and find hundreds of thousands of missing children. That was his instructions to me. So as of today, we got the most secure border in history of the nation. I don't take credit for it. I give credit to President Trump for signing the executive orders, ending catch and release, remain in Mexico, third safe country agreements, all this stuff that worked in Trump 45. I really give the thanks to the men and women of the United States Border Patrol, the finest men and women I've ever met. Rodney Scott, the CBP commissioner, is doing a great job over there. They had the border down over 90% in 7 weeks. 7 weeks. Even that amazed me, because I thought it'd take at least 120 days. They did it in 7 weeks. Amazing what the men and women of Border Patrol can do when they're allowed to do what they're supposed to do: secure the border. Last 4 years, I've been raising hell about the open border that the Biden administration intentionally inflicted upon this country. As a matter of fact, that's one of the first things President Trump said to me when I picked the phone up, is, "You've been bitching about it for 4 years, want to come fix it?" I said, "Absolutely." But the men and women of the Border Patrol, for 4 years, I went down, I made over a dozen trips down there to talk to the men and women of the Border Patrol, because I used to be one of them. I started my career as a Border Patrol agent in San Diego Sector, Campo Station. I was just there 2 weeks ago. It was a great trip, kind of reminiscing of back when I was an agent, before we had cell phones, before we had computers. So it was remarkable to talk to these agents. They got a phone that does everything. Back then, we used to process an alien on the hood of a Ram Charger. You had to press hard enough to go through 4 carbon copies. And now they're doing everything on a cell phone. So they're spoiled, but they're doing a great job. So most secure border, even better than Trump 45. Illegal immigration is down 96%, which tells you one thing. Tells me several things. Every day I woke up the last 4 years pissed off because I knew the Biden administration unsecured the most secure border on purpose. It wasn't mismanagement. It wasn't incompetence. It was by design. And I say that because Secretary Mayorkas was a deputy secretary under President Obama. President Biden was the vice president. We had a family surge during the Obama years. How did we stop it? We built detention centers. We built family residential centers. We held them long enough to see a judge, which took about 40 days. 90% lost their case. They simply don't qualify for asylum. We put them on airplanes, sent them home, and the border numbers tanked. Now that they're president and the secretary, what did they do? The complete opposite of what they knew worked. They weren't detaining them. They weren't seeing the judge. And ICE wasn't allowed to arrest an illegal alien unless they're convicted of a serious crime. They did the complete opposite of what they know worked for them 4 years prior. So this wasn't an accident. It was by design. So for 4 years, I woke up knowing how many women got raped last night, how many children died making that journey, how many women and children were sex trafficked across the border, how many non-suspected terrorists came across the border. Every day I woke up knowing all this was happening because the border was open. So now with the border down 96%, there's been numerous studies done by nonpartisan groups says 31% of women that make that journey through cartels get sexually assaulted. So when President Trump has it down 96%, when 96% less people are coming, how many women ain't being raped? How many aliens aren't dying making the journey? How many non-suspected terrorists aren't coming across the border every day? How many women and children aren't sex trafficked into this country? How many pounds of fentanyl is not making it across this secure border? President Trump's policy saves thousands of lives, and no one's talking about it, especially the fake media. Thousands of lives he's saving. Even the border wall saves lives. because women and children can't get over that wall, which means they're going to a place where there's not a wall, what's waiting on them? The men and women of the Border Patrol is going to deal with those humanitarian medical issues right then, saving lives. President Trump is saving thousands of lives every week. They always say the Trump administration is inhumane. I'm a racist, supposedly. I'm a white nationalist. I read it all. I'm a terrorist, whatever you want to call me. I don't give a shit what people think about me. Never have. The facts of the matter is, if you want to compare the Trump administration and Biden administration, let's do that. Under the Biden administration, what they call humane administration, a record number of aliens died making that journey, over 4,000. Historic record of migrants dying. 250,000 Americans died from fentanyl coming across the open border. Sex trafficking was an all-time high. Cartels made more money than they've ever made. They made record amount of money smuggling aliens. They make a record amount of money trafficking in women and children. They made a record amount of money in drug smuggling. Biden administration broke all kinds of records. Americans died at record numbers. Aliens died at record numbers. There's nothing humane about that administration. When you make a promise to the whole world, you can cross the border illegally, don't worry about it. We'll release you in 24 hours. We'll fly you to the city of your choice. We'll give you a free airline ticket. We'll give you a free hotel room. We'll give you 3 meals a day. We'll give you free medical care. And after about 90, 120 days, we'll give you work authorization, which is the real reason you came here. You're not really escaping fear and persecution from your own government. When you make those types of promises, the whole world's going to come, including the most vulnerable. And that's why so many died, and that's why the border's wide open to fentanyl. On any given day, up to 70% of agents were off the line. 70%. And they wonder why they had a mass immigration crisis on the southern border. Now, again, most secure border in the history of this nation. Lives are being saved every day. We got a little bit more work to do. We got to build some more wall. We got some more border buoys put in. We got a little bit more work to do. I looked at the numbers this morning coming in. In the last several months, we went from 10,000, 12,000, sometimes 15,000 illegal aliens coming to our border every day. Yesterday, 162. All arrested, nobody released, all returned. Think of that, 15,000 to 162. And that was just yesterday. I've seen numbers as low as 88 across 2,000 miles of border. That is one hell of a secure border. 0 released. No one was released. That's a secure border. I looked at the amount of gotaways. Under Joe Biden, an average day, 1,800 gotaways, known gotaways. They were captured on video, drone traffic, or sensor traffic. They got in because 70% of agents were busy processing the humanitarian crisis, so 1,800 a day average gotaways. How many yesterday? 16. 16 from 1,800. The most secure border in the history of this nation, and the data proves it, whether they like it or not. That's just a stone cold fact. And that's because we got the greatest president in my lifetime sitting at the White House. We're not making this up. Everything we have done is in statute. Do you know what statute says? You become the border illegally and enter, the statute says you shall be detained. Not maybe, not think about it, not released to an NGO. And that's what we've done. No one's being released. We're following statute. And look at the success since we've been doing that. The Biden administration ignored the law. Even though it says you shall detain, they didn't. And let me tell you why they didn't, because no one's talking about this. Why did they release millions of people into the country rather than detaining them? Thousands of empty ice beds, already paid for about $157 a night, that you already paid for, sitting empty. Thousands of beds sitting empty, already paid for, but they would rather release them to an NGO and put them in a hotel room at $500 a night. Why? Let me tell you why. Because they know if they're put in nice detention beds, they get a hearing within 35, 40 days. 90%, as I said, real data from Immigration Court, 90% lose their case. We put them on an airplane and send them home. That's not what they wanted. They knew if you released them to an NGO, their hearing would be 5, 7, 9 years out if they exhaust their appeals. They knew that. They're playing the long game. Don't detain them. They get a hearing too quickly, then have to go home. That's why they're so pissed off right now, because we're ruining their long-term strategy. Let's hold them, let's release them, non-detained docket, because the Immigration Court prioritizes the detained docket. Like I said, you get a hearing within 35, 40 days. Non-detained docket, you're years out. And what their hope is, in those years, another Democratic administration comes in, and Lord and behold, amnesty for millions of illegal aliens. That was their plan. And they're pissed off right now because we're out looking for these people, removing them, and they don't like it. And why would they do that? Why? Well, I've said from day one, they obviously see a future political benefit in releasing thousands of illegal aliens in this country, illegally, by the way. There's some that think they're future Democratic voters. I personally think when Joe Biden signed the 90 executive orders undoing everything we did to create the most secure border, he also overturned the Trump census rule, which means millions of illegal aliens in sanctuary cities become the next census. And what results come from that? More seats in the House for the Dems. They sold this country out for future political power. And I think that's borderline treasonous. So they can continue attacking us. We're ruining their long-term plans. So we're removing thousands of people a week. And as resources come on board, it's going to expand further. You think they're doing good now? You wait. When the resources get on board, we should have 10,000 agents on board in the next 6 months. Then you watch what happens. People are saying, oh, they're arresting too many people. You ain't saying anything yet. And I stand by that. And I'm sure, I promise you, there'll be a story at Homan threatened. You're damn right. Everything I said here on the record. We're going to fight to enforce the immigration laws of this country. We're going to continue to prioritize public safety threats and national security threats because it makes this country safer. I took a huge pay cut coming back to this administration for one reason. Because I love the guy who was sitting as President of the United States. I think his heart's in the right place. And for the Trump haters out there, I spent many hours with President Trump either on Air Force One or in the Oval Office or off-site at events. I respect this man as much as I do my own father. He's not perfect. Either was my father. Either am I. If you're looking for perfection in a president, you better wait for the second coming of Jesus. I never met a perfect man in my life. But when it comes to border security and national security, having the six of law enforcement, having the six of military, there's not a better man on the planet than President Donald Trump.